the kind of systemic violence that the Kashmiri Muslims are facing. I mean, the root is quite down. I mean, deep down there. So it all started with creating a binary of us versus them by the state some 7 decades back. So right after the independence, when Sheikh, I mean, he was the Prime Minister of Kashmir, the state, the government at the center tried its best to create a binary. So when they created a binary, they started giving labels to Kashmiri Muslims. The label initially was militants, the label initially was separatists, and then it transcended into terrorists. So the state successfully created a difference between the mainland Indians and the Kashmiri Muslims in particular. So when the binary or the otherization is complete, the people are looked upon as less human. So if there is a human right part of the India with any other community, the kind of behavior or response by the activists or by the state or by the people at large is very different when it happens, when it comes to such violations in Kashmir. So the very first step, if you see about the persecution of Muslims or any community in the entire world, be it the Uyghurs in China, or be it the Rohingyas in Myanmar, or be it the Serbian Muslims before the genocide, or be it the Rwandan Tutsi community. The very first thing that the state or the radical communities is creating a binary, right? So the state successfully created a binary. So when any human rights violation happened in Kashmir, it was looked upon as less human rights violation by the other communities in India. The very second step after the otherization is disempowerment, right? So in any political liberal democratic setup, the first step of disempowerment is political disempowerment. So with the abrogation of Article 370, so Article 370 was one article that was inserted, before the independence of India, on the request of the Kashmiri people, that they will enjoy a number of benefits. They will enjoy a number of the other regional autonomous powers within the Indian state. So it was one bridge that acted as a link, that acted as a solidifying link between the people of Kashmir and the people of India. That bridge was broken with the abrogation of Article 370 in one go. The means through which this article was broken, the means through which this 370 was abrogated, was totally unconstitutional. And it is no surprise that a number of petitions have been filed before the Supreme Court regarding the same. But we are yet to see any formation of benches for the hearing, right? So political disempowerment happened right after the abrogation of 370 on August 5th, 2019. The Kashmiri people in one go lost their voices politically. The second step of disempowerment was economic disempowerment. In last year, in December, the Indian state started uprooting people from the tribal area, from the forest, the nomadic Muslim community of Gujars and Bakarwal. So, there is one modus operandi that the Jews are using in Palestine. They uproot the farms of Palestinians. So the people have attachment with the land, and they have attachment with anything that is associated with the land, right? So what happened that 10,000 of the apple trees were uprooted just because government wanted to clear the land off. In the similar way, there is one district in Kashmir called Sopia. Sopia is at most of the times at the center of controversy because people of Sopia they are resisting the occupation, right? So the water stream that is leading to their farm, they have been dried up deliberately. So the state is disempowering the people politically, disempowering the people there, democratically in any possible manner. and they're also disempowering them economically. So if you talk about the comparison between the people of Kashmir and the people of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, or the people in Rohingyas in Myanmar, the modus operandi is same. I mean, it would be no surprise that the Commissioner of India, in one of the meetings there in UK, said we have already seen how it is done, and he deliberately pointed towards the kind of modus that Israeli people are doing. So this should be of no surprise that this way, the kind of thing that the Indian state is following is on the same lines that Chinese have done with Uyghurs, or the Rohingyas have done with Myanmar refugees, or the Israelis are doing with the Palestinians. Right.
Okay, now we do know, Aasif, that Aasif, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all right. Look, we know that sadly Kashmir has been mired in crisis for decades. And this past year, as you've also pointed out, the Indian government upended decades of delicate, albeit flawed policies by unilaterally revoking the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, the part of the region it controls, which India controls, obviously. We also understand it sent in thousands of additional troops, arrested practically the entire intellectual class there, including elected representatives, business people, and students, and have shut down the internet. Does that status quo still stand? Do the Kashmiri people have access to internet? Are they able to lead some sort of a normal life, if we can call it that? Is there some sort of normality in their lives at all?
I mean, see, this all depends on how we define normality. For us, for people living in the Western world, or the people living in the mainland India, our normalization is very different from the normalization that a Kashmiri envisages. Right. So imagine opening your eyes and seeing the armies marching outside the road. Imagine being in hurry for the office, and you have to be in a long queue just because there are barricades at every successive kilometers, or even lesser than that, for frisking you out because the state thinks that you are a threat to their security. So the kind of normalcy that we believe is very different from what Kashmiris has been through, right? So
Okay, Aasif, I asked that question in the context of their present situation before they, before government, um, sent thousands of additional troops into Kashmir and practically arrested the entire intellectual class there. I'm talking about that situation. So has it gone back to what it was before India upended their lives? Has it reached some form
yes,
of
I, I was getting to that. So what I told was this situation of being one of the highly militarized zone. It existed even before the abrogation of 370. It existed even 10 years back. It always was there with the people of Kashmir. After 370 abrogation, the government snapped the internet. So that time internet wasn't snapped. People were successively given the authority to use internet. Now the internet has been restored in maximum part of the valley, but the government has started a new tactic. So what they are doing, any journalist or any media organization that is trying to report the atrocity by the state to any of its machinery. So someone bringing out the report that the state is uprooting the apple orchards. Someone bringing out the photographs of how their lives are being covered. Now the state has started targeting them under stringent anti-terror laws. So we have a law called UAPA, right? So this stringent anti-terror law is often evoked there on the right. So people at large, they have voices either through the media, that is That is the organization that brings the truth forward, that shows the world how people are suffering, or the people can even themselves stage a big protest and let the world know. Right. So the staging a protest in the present context seems impossible. So what the state is
Okay.
doing, they are deliberately targeting the journalists so that these voices, these reports are not coming up. So if one talks about are the situation getting normal in Kashmir, I would say they are getting normal in the context of Kashmir. So Kashmir already had an abnormal situation for decades. So they are getting back to their abnormal normalcy. That is what I would say.
Okay, finally, because of time constraints, we have to wrap up. So, thank you indeed for your time. This is obviously a developing story, and we will be in touch with you again sometime soon. Go well and keep safe. Salaam alaikum to you.
So,
Okay, that was Aasif Mujtaba, journalist and research scholar based in India, talking to us about the situation unfolding in Kashmir. And just to wrap up, Sadiq Wahid, a Kashmiri historian who earned his PhD from Harvard, has this to say about the current situation in Kashmir. And I quote, "It reminds me of the Uyghur camps in China. I don't think that this particular Indian general who instituted this law or suggestion realizes the insanity of what he is talking about." End of quote. It is 9:35 exactly. This is News and Views on Salam Media.